Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. That's the show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I have been, in the last 4 weeks or so, I have been going through the different kinds of substances of abuse, shall we say? Because, one of the things with ADHDers is impulsivity and a lack of inhibition, which sometimes leads to experimentation with different substances of what we older people have called abuse. The funny thing is that people whose ADHD is not treated medically with medication, are more likely to have problems with abuse than folks who are being treated with stimulant medication. I don't know why, it just is. But that's what the research says. Okay, today we're talking about hallucinogens. And hallucinogens, they got a lot of publicity back when I was in college, in the 60s and 70s. We had Timothy Leary, who was a doctor of something, I can't remember what, not an MD, but I can't remember what his exact credentials were, but he was at an Ivy League school, and he was, his motto was tune in, turn on, drop out. And he was saying that taking hallucinogens freed your mind from restrictions and learned boundaries and so on, and you saw truth or something. I don't know exactly what it was. It was a little bit muddled, as I believe Master Timothy's mind was also a little bit muddled. But we honestly don't have a whole heck of a lot of research on LSD or any of the other hallucinogens. And I know not tons, but I know some people who claim that it totally changed their life when first time they tripped on probably LSD. And now I see things in a whole new way, and all sorts of, I'm a stodgy New England type, and you got to prove it to me, by God. but that's what they say, but the problem is we don't have a whole bunch of research. And back in the 60s and 70s, there was the famous bad trip, which some people, when they took LSD, had a bad psychotic episode and were terrified, and some of them never came out. They just stayed terrified. I don't know, maybe for the rest of their lives. That's how the news is. After a month or two, they quit covering the story. So I don't really know if they ever got back, or if they just tripped out and that was it. They were done. And so one of the big things is that, okay, hallucinogens work on, basically all drugs work on the chemistry of the brain. The brain is an electrochemical marvel, which sends part of the signals electrically within the axon, and then chemically between the axons. That if that didn't mean anything to you, just say that your brain communicates using chemicals. It secretes certain chemicals, neurotransmitters, and probably that's as much as you need to know. You can find out a whole lot about them, but one of the things you also need to know is that we think ADHD is caused by low levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, and those are the chemicals, the biochemicals, the neurotransmitters that make you say, oh, I did a good thing. That job is done. Anyway, so knowing that a hallucinogen works at the biochemical level in the brain, and it can mess up the neurotransmitter systems, and that's a problem. Okay, and people can have really intense sensory experiences. Their reality sense can be extremely distorted, and different cognitive processes get messed up, sometimes permanently. Um, there's really no evidence that it does you any good. Of course, our medical research a lot of times is determined more by a group of store owners and lawyers in Congress than it is by what the medical researchers say. So, if Congress says this is dangerous, you can't do it, uh, well, we got to live with that. But that means that a lot of times we're working with and we're making rules about things, and we don't know anything about them. We don't really know. Does LSD by itself cause bad trips, or is that in combination with some other substance of abuse? Does it affect certain kinds of people, or is there something that in people's psychological functioning that makes it more likely that they're going to bad trip on a hallucinogen, or not be able to handle alcohol well, or you know honestly, we don't have any good answers. We just know that there are tons of people out there in the world, most of them about my age, who have done a lot of trips on LSD mostly, and are doing fine. And like I said, there are the other ones that had a bad trip and never came back. So it's well, it's not something we should just take for granted. I think it's like all of these things. I much rather come at them from a point of view of science and what research can tell us and that sort of thing than from the point of view of a bunch of people who don't know anything about science, don't know anything about biochemistry. Sorry, that was a facial tick. Biochemistry and I are not great friends, but it's not that I don't respect what it can do for you. Um, you know, Science is the pursuit of knowledge. Science is the best way we have of knowing things. How do we know anything? You know, we know it because either we've read the research on it or we've conducted our own research. You know, everything from uh, what's the effect of a concussion on my brain to will I be able to survive jumping out of this airplane with a parachute on my back? And it's not that kind of research is practical, applied research. Yeah, I've seen other people do it. I know it's possible. I know parachutes were specifically designed for this purpose, and I know the newer ones work a lot better than the ones in World War II, and you probably won't get your knees busted up as much. That's it. But that's research. That is research. I'm not doing it because of my belief system. I'm doing it because of observed my observations of parachuting and my personal um, research, the things I've read about the accident rate with parachuting and so on. I'm retired Air Force, and I have no idea why anybody'd want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, but people do it for grins, and I'm all for that. So, but the deal that we need to think about is hallucinogens is we just don't know what it'll do to you, and I personally don't like playing around with that. Uh, I'm very fond of my brain, just the way it works. It's been awfully good to me over the years, and I'd like to keep it being awfully good to me. So, so there. Okay, and we are out of time again. Uh, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is the show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers, because we need people like that. We need people who think outside the box. And ADHDers, oh boy, if nothing else, they think outside the box. I am also, I'm at a big change point in my life. I'm closing down my private practice, not completely, because I go through withdrawal when I think about doing that. But I like what I do. I like being able to treat people. I do not like the way managed care is going, and I don't want to play in that market anymore. So I'm setting up my private coaching practice. I mean, I've always, not always, but for the last 10 years or so, I have done coaching, uh, usually because somebody called up and asked if I did it. And I said, yeah, sure, we do that. But I don't want to, I didn't want to make a deal out of it. I didn't want to make it so I couldn't accept normal patients. Uh, I couldn't accept patients from uh, insurance companies and that sort of stuff. Uh, I'm a neuropsychologist. Neuropsychologists are in short supply. Neurologists need us, and a lot of other folks. So I didn't want to totally stop doing that, but now I'm going to really amp up the coaching part of the things. And if you are the parent of an ADHD child, then that probably means that either you or your spouse also has ADHD, or you know tons of people who do have ADHD. Well, I am a certified high performance coach. And the thing I like about coaching is we try to take people up to their highest potential. Okay, and it's well, the certification, I started, like I said, about 10 years ago, and we have to recertify periodically. It's the only coaching program that is research based, which again, is what I look for. How do I know this is truth? How do I know this isn't just, a bunch of guys got together and said, hey, let's do this? No, I want to know that there's some scientific research that supports the efficacy of this. And high performance coaching has the highest percentage I've ever seen on an intervention. So anyway, if that is at all of any interest to you, please get in touch with me. Go through my website, which is terrygingrassphd.com, and there's a place to sign up. We have Calendly, which is brand new to me, but if it works the way it says it will, that's going to be great. But you can just sign up, and what we'd be signing up for would be just an interview kind of thing, so we can see if we're a good match for each other and that kind of thing. So, with that many words, I'll see you next week, and remember, be good to your ADHD children. We need ADHDers who are confident, resilient, and know how to get up when they get knocked down. Okay, we'll catch you later.